What's up, my comic comrades? With Apocalypse being teased for What If Season 3 and seemingly being set up to be the big bad for X-Men 97 Season 2, we thought it would be a good time to start breaking down just how powerful he is in the comics. And let me tell you something, he is incredibly powerful. He is a true threat for the X-Men and the entire Marvel Universe. Apocalypse's power set is one of the most extensive in all of comics. I mean, we're talking about a character who has the ability of self-molecular manipulation, super strength, invulnerability, super speed, energy attacks, energy direction, energy transfer, telepathy, teleportation, telekinesis, magic, genius intellect, shape-shifting abilities, reality warping, energy manipulation, and so much more. Yeah, his powers are so extensive, we're actually not going to be able to cover every single thing he can do because it's not really a stretch to say he can do pretty much everything. But let's start with shape-shifting. In X-Factor Volume 1, Issue 6, Apocalypse flat out tells Frenzy after she disobeyed an order, "I control my body, rearrange and restructure its molecules as it suits me. Your strength, your invulnerability are nothing compared to the power Apocalypse can summon. Be grateful that the centuries have taught me not to waste what might prove useful. The order that preserves Michael's life keeps you alive as well." And keep in mind, this is his first appearance in comics, and he's basically saying, yeah, I can do whatever I want with the molecules in my body, you're nothing to me. That's one hell of an intro. Because he controls the molecules in his body to do whatever he wants. This means he can create whatever he wants out of his body, like deadly tendrils from his arms, to snap the necks of vampires as seen in X-Men Apocalypse vs. Dracula issue 2. In that same issue, he forms a giant claw to pierce the hearts of several vampires at once. We even saw Apocalypse make his arms into wings to dodge Cyclops' optic blast in X-Factor issue 25. And in Fantastic Four Volume 1 issue 335, he even makes his hands into rocket jets to literally rocket through the air. He also once created a giant cannon out of his arm to one-shot a damn Sentinel in X-Men Volume 2 issue 183. The point is, he can create anything out of his body because, like he said, he can reconstruct every single molecule in his body as he wants. Now, we know he can create anything out of his body, altering his size, making his hands into cannons, or whatever else he wants to do, but what about his invulnerability? Well, that's top tier as well. For instance, we saw in Uncanny Avengers Volume 1, Issue 6, Apocalypse get hit by a young Thor with his Asgardian axe. If you're unaware, the axe Yarnbjorn was forged by dwarves and can basically cut through anything. It also has a charm placed on it that makes it indestructible. It's such a fearful weapon, it could pierce through the armor of a celestial. When Thor hit Apocalypse with it, he said, "The grim weight of Yarnbjorn will wrest the truth from your crooked lips." But when Thor pulled it away, there was nothing but a hot streak on Apocalypse's chest as he replied, "It will not. You are brash and arrogant, but beyond that, you are not fit to survive." Then immediately after, we see the scorch mark on his chest instantly heal. Even more impressive, in Unworthy Thor and the Mighty Thor, he took a full hit to the face with Mjolnir wielded by Jane Foster Thor, and it didn't even draw blood. Just think about that, taking a full swing to the face by Mjolnir and looking right back at Thor. But something crazier than that happened in X-Factor Volume 4, Issue 4. An injured Apocalypse was able to resist Rachel Summers' mind control as she was attempting to restrain him. He literally kicked her out of his mind. If you don't understand how powerful that feat is, let me explain real quick. Rachel Summers is one of the most powerful telepaths in all of comics. She was once considered an Omega-level mutant before Jonathan Hickman's retcon. She's the daughter of Jean Grey and Cyclops from the Days of Future Past timeline. She's been the avatar for the Phoenix Force and was once an Omega-level mutant. So Apocalypse being able to push a telepath like this out of his mind with sheer will is an incredible feat. He literally just screamed out, "Leave me." At which point, they asked Rachel, "What did you do?" And she replied, "I don't know. He just kicked me out of his head." Is it really that surprising though? This is the same guy that takes hits from X-Factor and the Inhumans at the same time, and it was doing nothing to him. We see this go down in X-Factor issue 68, as the Inhumans and X-Factor attack Apocalypse with caption saying, "Inhumans and X-Factor were all hitting him with everything we've got, powers and weapons, without having the slightest effect." This is actually crazy. The Inhumans and X-Factor were hitting him with everything they had, and Apocalypse didn't even flinch. This is certainly a character that would be a saga-level villain for the MCU. Now, if you want to talk about sheer strength, we've got to talk about the time Apocalypse restrained the Incredible Hulk in the Incredible Hulk 456. Apocalypse basically takes the Hulk to Egypt and restrains him with his cables, literally manhandling him while saying, "Stop struggling, Hulk. You are the first non-mutant I have honored with my attention in a millennium. I expect appreciation and obedience, not arrogant and pointless resistance." Hulk finally says, "Let me go," so Apocalypse does, saying, "As you wish." as we see Hulk with his hands around his throat and mouth coughing. The point is, Apocalypse was easily restraining the Hulk, so much so that Hulk never broke free. Apocalypse had to let him go. That's incredibly impressive. As you know, Hulk is the strongest there is. What's even crazier is that Apocalypse wasn't even trying. Like, he told the Hulk, "You're the first non-mutant I have honored with my attention in a millennium." That's crazy. He's basically saying, you should be honored, I'm giving you any of my time right now. Now, we're all familiar with Icarus from the Eternals, right? Well, he is extremely powerful in the comics, not the watered down version the MCU gave us. In the books, he's a Superman type character. In fact, he's basically a god. The dude is immortal and has insane super strength equal to Hulk and Thanos. But he also has all types of other abilities like regeneration, flight, telepathy, telekinesis, cosmic energy manipulation, and more. Anyway, in the new Eternals Apocalypse Now, Apocalypse is doing his thing, causing problems, and eventually Icarus shows up with Apocalypse greeting him saying, "Icarus, king of the immortals, to what do I owe this pleasure?" Icarus replies, "En Sabanor, I should have recognized your handiwork sooner and would have, if not for the mistaken belief that you perished during our last encounter." Apocalypse responds, "The centuries have not tarnished your ego, Eternal, but please, address me by the name that all mankind will soon whisper in fear, Apocalypse. Surely you agree the name suits me better, and let me assure you that you face something far greater than the misshapen deviant behemoth engaging the rest of your breed below. You reckon with the pinnacle, the next stage in mankind's evolution, the first and foremost of the Homo sapiens superior." Icarus then says, "It was you from the very beginning, wasn't it, mutant? You were the one who engineered the attack on the deviant city, not the humans. You want to cull the weak from the strong. Let's begin right here, right now, just you and me." He then shoots his laser eyes at Apocalypse, but Apocalypse just reshapes his body, so the beams shoot right through him. Apocalypse retaliates by enlarging his arm and punching Icarus. Icarus gets back up and delivers a massive punch to Apocalypse while saying, "I swear in my father's name, no matter what sadistic scheme you set in motion between human and deviant, we Eternals shall put an end to it." But Apocalypse just shakes off the punch like it's nothing. Then he grabs Icarus, squeezing him so tight that Icarus starts screaming. But it doesn't end there. While giving him a massive bear hug, Apocalypse creates a blade out of his chest, impaling Icarus. And while Icarus is on the ground wounded, Apocalypse says, "The age of Apocalypse shall be ushered in. And all the while you've been kept busy playing peacemaker, my plan has been allowed to proceed without interference." Icarus then shoots his laser eyes at Apocalypse once more while screaming, "Shut up." But Apocalypse dodges, then turns his body into a plane and flies away laughing. Apocalypse took on a god, humiliated him, and made it look easy. But Apocalypse's greatest feat is conquering the world. Most villains are out to conquer the world, but how many can actually say they've done it? Answer, only a handful, Dr. Doom being another one. It all went down in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, one of the most iconic X-Men and comic book storylines of all time. The reason it's called the Age of Apocalypse is because Apocalypse conquered Earth and ruled it as he saw fit, hence Age of Apocalypse. In the storyline, Charles Xavier's son Legion goes back in time to try to kill Magneto, intending to help his father. The idea is that if Magneto is dead, then Xavier's dream of peace between humans and mutants becomes a reality. The problem is Xavier was a good person no matter what point in time you're talking about, and Xavier sacrifices himself to save Magneto. So since Xavier is dead in the past, it creates a ripple effect, meaning the X-Men were never created, which in turn also means that there were no X-Men to ever stop Apocalypse from rising to power. Because of this, Apocalypse is able to conquer Earth, ruling it as he wants and throwing it into complete and utter chaos with the survival of the fittest mentality. Humans are either enslaved or killed off, and all mutants either become allies to his cause or join the resistance. This leads to another really cool aspect, Magneto forming the X-Men. Magneto is inspired by Xavier's sacrifice to save him, so he forms the X-Men to fight against Apocalypse and his army. And Magneto finds Apocalypse right before he's about to reach godhood using celestial technology. Apocalypse then grabs Magneto by the head saying, "The end game is yours and mine alone. This is no time to disappoint me. Fight back. Why won't you fight back?" Magneto replies, "I can't. I'm concentrating." Magneto then uses his powers to rip Apocalypse in half. As he does, he stands before Apocalypse's head saying, "For 20 years you've gone on about how only the strong survive. Tell me again, Apocalypse, just how strong are you?" He then walks away saying, "We were the mightiest of our race, Apocalypse. Suppose we'd been on the same side. What a world that would have been." Now, Apocalypse was ultimately defeated, but not permanently. You see, Apocalypse is immortal, so he would come back after this. Even when you beat him, you don't really beat him, you just win that round. Either way, Apocalypse did what few villains have been able to do, take over and rule the world. But there you have it, friends, several examples of just how powerful Apocalypse is. I can't wait to see what they do with him in Season 2 of X-Men 97 and potentially the MCU. But what do you think of Apocalypse? Do you want to see more of him? Should he be the X-Men's big bad in the MCU? Let us know in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.